Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in. A little bit behind schedule this week. Had a busy day in the studio yesterday, so we are back today. It's Tuesday afternoon. I'm Jesse Montano, going to be joined by Meghan Angley here in just a moment. This is Guerrilla Sports Off Ice. Do want to start off, as always, by reminding you guys about our great friends over at Trusted American Mortgage, where I'm actually going to see some of them right after the show. Head on over, trustedamerican.com/sports. See how much money they can help you start saving today. They want to help you lower your interest rate, get a better monthly payment. And if you act right now, trustedamerican.com/sports might even help you be able to skip a couple of those monthly mortgage payments, put some cash right back in your pocket. Head on over, trustedamerican.com/sports. See how much money they can help you start saving today. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hey, everybody, welcome in. How's it going? I'm Jesse Montano. She is Meghan Angley. We got the one and only John behind the glass today. Chloe still hates us and is out of the country.
No.
So she just doesn't, I don't know if she's ever coming back. Got a good show for you guys today. We're going to round out our conversation that we've been having over the last couple of shows, dissecting this Avs forward group a bit here. And we're going to turn our attention to the bottom half of the lineup up front for the Avs, as that is the one area of the roster that still has quite a bit of work to do to be game ready. Meghan, how are you feeling? Are you game ready?
I'm game ready, but this bottom six is certainly not.
Certainly not. What are you going to do this weekend?
My Leanne, hello. My friend Leanne turned 30 and I celebrated her birthday. It was a lot of fun.
All right. I'm just remembering something I saw on your Instagram over the weekend. You were in, it looked like a club.
Yes.
Of some kind with the flashing lights.
Yes.
And like,
oh my gosh.
I don't know, Meghan, what it would take for me to find myself in that type of environment.
To be
now
fair,
at this age,
it took a lot of
you're a good friend
being talked into, because we were at a different, cute little cutesy cocktail bar
because
before.
I see a lot of your pictures from when you guys go out, and that was not your normal scene.
It's not our normal scene. And we heard, like, we have a table that we can take advantage of. Like, we didn't book this table. Someone's just offering it to us at this place we've never heard of. And so we're like, well, free table, cool. But also we have to go to a club. So eventually enough people gave a lukewarm yes, and we all went. It ended up being super fun. But what's funny is that was kind of behind the DJ booth. If you saw what the view was in front of it, it was dead. Like, we were kind of the only people there. And so we were trying to bring the party, because they were clearly filming things for their socials. And it was just our party because we were the only people there. So we felt this tremendous pressure to, like, look like we're having fun, look like we're cool.
It was more work than just celebrating.
Yes.
I feel that. Yeah.
But we still had a lot of fun.
Good.
And yeah.
Well, I was going to ask which club it was, but now that you just...
I don't want to put him on blast. I don't want to put him on blast.
It was empty, totally barren. Okay. No, that's...
Here, to give you an idea, as soon as I walked up, a girl spotted me, and she's like, hey, and she's coming over to give me a hug. I've never seen this woman in my life. Turns out she'd gotten kicked out for picking a fight in the club and was trying to get back in by pretending to know me.
No.
And I was feeding into it a little bit. I was like,
you're a people pleaser. Yeah.
What was the other girl wearing? Like, I'll go find her. And security's looking at me like, you can't be talking like that. Like, we're not going to let you in.
Yeah. They don't do a podcast with you. They don't know your sense of humor.
They definitely didn't get it. It wasn't landing. Thankfully, I got in.
I was sitting on my couch with my wife when I clicked onto your story. I was like, a year's salary is what someone would have to offer me, like, tonight to get to a club like this.
The birthday girl was worth it.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Hey, you had a out of the box adventure.
It sure was.
Good for you. Good for you. I power washed my fence, which is
that's pretty crazy.
Is now I will say it's an extremely satisfying task to power wash something, to go from 20 years of gunk buildup to clean. So I won't lie, I did enjoy that.
That's how I feel when I take my makeup off at night.
Just I've done it before, both with shaving, where I'll shave one half my face, but then I've also during allergy seasons put eye drops in just one eye just to see the contrast.
It's all about perspective in life,
that's,
really.
That's right.
And so on one hand, the Avs don't have a complete bottom six, but some teams don't even have a goaltender.
Their forward group is like power washing a fence, but you got halfway done and we're like, shit, I ran out of gas.
That's a great point, right? This other half is beautiful, stunning.
But it still works. It still functions as a fence.
Yes. And you see the potential behind.
Right. It's like, ooh, if we get some more gas, we can get this cleaned up a bit.
Absolutely.
And wow, this
nice.
highly functioning fence will now look like the rest of it. But we haven't power washed that part of it yet. So let's talk about what needs to be done once the power washer is back filled up and we can move on to the bottom six of the Colorado Avalanche, get them cleaned up as well.
Yeah, I think it's like a little bit of patchwork that's needed, right? Like some of the fence is a bit busted.
You know what, Megan? We replaced 2 posts. We didn't replace every post.
That's right.
We had to replace 2 because they had gone bad.
It's just like your fence.
Wow, this is actually going better than we thought. The Avs roster is near identical to my fence. And the goaltending, look, we had to have the patio replaced before that. So we got a nice solid foundation put in.
Good.
That's our goaltending. Now we got the fence back up and we're doing some power washing and we got this last little bit to focus on here.
That's not a bad part too. And it's going to be so satisfying when it's all done.
And it's the home stretch. It's arguably the easiest part if you're willing to park the time.
You could entertain a backyard barbecue in this backyard as is.
Right. But don't you want it to look just a little bit nicer before everyone shows up for the party? We really like the way it looks up front. I think this back end is sneaky exciting. But Megan, right now, and I'm going to count Logan O'Connor because he's injured.
Totally.
Even though he's injured. Ross Colton, Logan O'Connor, Jack Drury, Parker Kelly. Now, for those of you at home who grew up watching Sesame Street, you'll know that's only 4. And you need at least 6 to make up your bottom 2 lines. Now, you have some internal options, Prashepov, Ivan, etc. But I don't think that's what Chris McFarland, Joe Sakic want long term. So let me start by asking you this question. Do you think the Avs have more moves up their sleeve to round this bottom 6 out? Or do you think they'll go into the season patchworking it, saying, by March we'll get there?
So,
or a combination of both?
I think it'll be a combination of both. I think that they have one more move left in their tank ahead of the start of the season with respect to the third line.
Yes.
Because I think that will be the hardest area of the lineup to just fill in with guys, just because we have an idea of what both Parker Kelly and Jack Drury look like on a third line. And it's not bad, but it clearly wasn't what they ultimately wanted either. So you can convince me that we'll see some of that at the start of the season, but I think they want to have at least one more bona fide third liner that they feel comfortable with to start the year there. And then it'll be some mix of Drury, Kelly, maybe playing up on the third line, on that fourth line. And that's where, too, the balance of whoever's stepping up to help round out the bottom 6 with an internal option, like an Ivan, Prashepov. I'm going to consider Jason Poland, Steinberg, Cooper Gay in that mix, too, just because I'm kind of excited to see where they stand coming out of camp. But
I'm going to get ahead of this real quick before people start asking. Taylor McCarr, a late season 1 game or 2 potential call-up option. He's not in this mix.
No, and I put him in that same category of I think we see an NHL debut from Taylor McCarr in the next season. And I would liken it to the track that Chase Bradley took. Getting a game late in the season and not necessarily being expected to compete for a spot and stick there, just as an injury crops up, seeing an opportunity to get a look at one of these guys at the NHL level. That's where I'm at with Taylor McCarr. I won't, pencil him in any higher in terms of filling out an NHL role for the Avs as soon as next year, but I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility to get an NHL debut, and I'm excited for it. Honestly, put Cooper Gay kind of in that same category. I'm just excited to see a full season of him at the pro level. But, Poland, Steinberg, Przepov, Ivan, we kind of have an idea of those players.
And I'm so sorry, I'm not even up to date on how to pronounce his last name. The kid they got. No, in the Oscar Olausson trade.
Oh, Gushin.
Yeah.
I might be saying that a little funny too.
He looks like he's going to be a tweener player to me. Like the skill is really obvious, but
right.
He's my size, and just the Rocco Grimaldis of the world. There is an extra level that they have to get to make their game stick at the NHL level. But I don't know, maybe toss this guy in that potential for the start of the season as well.
I hate grouping players who are undersized in this same box, like TJ Tynan and Matthew Phillips.
Short king hate. Not even allowed in the same box.
But I actually think
I'm the one who just said they can't
is
play
like
the NHL.
Just outside that same box, but still in a category of player. In that I don't know that he is really at the front of the line for a call up. I think that he is here to replenish some of the goal scoring that Matthew Phillips brought to the lineup last year.
I agree.
And I think there's a little more upside though, because with Matthew Phillips, I think the organization had a little bit of an idea of where he's at and what he'd bring. Not so different from TJ Tynan, though still here on an NHL contract. So there's still this door that's, exists for a player like that to get a call. Anyways, it's a
shorter door, but they can still get through it.
It's a shorter door. Jesse, not everything is about their height. All right. Because also, he's not as small as Rocco Grimaldi.
Is he not?
No, I thought 5'9".
He's listed at 5'8". Gushin is, yeah.
All right, 5'8". All right.
Now, keep going. I'm looking up how tall. Rocco Grimaldi's 5'6".
He's so small.
All right. Wow. I stand fully corrected. But again, does just underscore my point of, do you know how talented Rocco Grimaldi has to be to even get to the level that he's gotten to?
Yes. I remember watching him in college. He was sick.
Oh, I'm sure he just tore shit up. Sorry, I completely derailed you.
The role that's left to be filled in the bottom six isn't really for the undersized skill player, to be quite honest with you.
I'm totally with you.
We saw Dennis Malgin, and he had his moments, but there was a reason his fit just didn't quite make sense. It's hard to justify that style of player in the bottom six with what the other players do well and what they need. So that's just why I'm not really considering him in that conversation and why I've listed the guys that I have. But anyways, all that to say,
Bardakov is another good name to add to that.
Bardakov is actually a significant player because Chris McFarland has mentioned him by name.
He's brought him up.
Yes.
Multiple times, right?
Yeah. Okay, we get it. You like it. But there's a reason too that I've seen the New Jersey fan base kind of frustrated by that being part of the return, and Curtis McDermott once upon a time, because with Russian prospects, the track is going to be a little bit different. So it's not as if he's a young prospect necessarily, but he's more pro ready at this stage coming over, and he's coming on the heels of a good season, and so I think the expectation absolutely is that he could be more pro-ready than even some of the guys I've mentioned that were already internal options playing here. I think that Bardakov is a guy that will round out the fourth line, and then you promote one of Drury or Kelly to that third line. But I still think there's one hole to be filled with a bona fide third line player for the bottom six going into the season.
I couldn't agree more. I think you need to add. And look, I've had a couple people bring up Yoel Kiviranta to me recently. They should just go get Kiviranta. I'm like, he's not what you need. He's a fourth line player. I think at full health, I think this team knows what they want its fourth line to look like. It's Jack Drury with Parker Kelly and Logan O'Connor. I think Ross Colton is the one third line guy you've got under contract right now. So I'm with you. I think if you can go out, add one more real third line bona fide player that can play there, you can mix and match it till you're healthy, till you get a little bit further into the season, till you can bring a guy in, as you get closer to the deadline and it's the cap hits a little bit more palatable and things like that. I think you can get away with Bardakov, Prishepov, Ivan, Jason Pohl. I think you can get away with that on the fourth line till Christmas.
And I think it's, hopefully only one or two at most, though, of those internal options hanging around. I think any more than that, and you're just taking a little bit of a gamble of fully realizing the potential of the bottom six. But to give people an idea of Bardakov's last year in the KHL, he set new personal bests in goals and assists, and it was their alternate captain. 24 years old, 6'2", had 17 goals, 18 assists. I think he's coming on the heels of a strong season in the KHL, playing among men, had a little bit of a leadership role. That does feel very close to pro ready, even compared to like a Nikita Prishepov, who will be completing his first full year pro, or I guess second full year pro, after missing some time to injury at the end of the playoffs this last year. It was a strong first year pro season for him. But personally, where I'm at with Prishepov in the pipeline, I still think that parts of his game are a little bit raw and they're exciting, but I would put him a little bit lower on the chart. I'd put Ivan a little bit higher. I think he just has more reps, more experience, because he's been at the pro level for a little bit longer.
That is being debated furiously in the chat right now.
Okay, I actually am not following the chat, but this is something I've been asked directly
Prishepov
about.
versus Ivan is
Prishepov.
Yep.
Honestly, too, on paper, it's hard to start separating them. Both have experience playing down the middle, and both have been utilized both ways at the pro level with the Eagles. But I think Ivan has earned more trust with special teams reps.
There's
both
more
PK,
maturity in
both
his
power
game.
play. Totally. And I think that will come with time with Prishepov, because Ivan had a head start getting to the pro level. And so it's not to say that Prishepov is a lesser prospect. I think he is still getting experience that Ivan has a leg up on him.
Yeah, I think that's a great assessment of it. I think Prishepov was a guy, was a really pleasant surprise last year that you can immediately flip a 7th round pick into a guy who's eating NHL minutes for you. And I think he was so exciting and got to the point where people maybe forgot this is a very young player who was just drafted, who was just getting a taste of, pro hockey. I think Ivan building a little bit more trust into his game to this point. I'm with you. He would be my first call or out of those two.
And Ivan has sort of stood out as having a really good mindset for what he needs to do at this level to find success. And so there's a lot of commitment and consistency in Ivan's game, in being a responsible player, that I see traits of that in Prishepov as well, but I think it's more innate for Ivan. And so I just think the two-way game is going to be a bit more trusted in Ivan right now compared to Prishepov. So that's where I'm at. I really like both players, and they play very well together because they're very similar in ways. And I think they're trying to build out a similar player, because there is so much natural skill in Prishepov, and being able to find his players and the plays that he's able to make below the goal line from the dangerous areas, especially at the American League level. I was certainly impressed by him. What's giggles?
Someone in here suggesting Daniel Sprong for the Avs. I don't know. What do you think about Daniel Sprong?
Absolutely not. He's a locker room cancer, you guys. The culture isn't right. The culture is not good.
Oh, God.
I'm being a little dramatic, but the culture is, I'm not making that up. That's a real thing.
Daniel Sprong is also heading to the KHL this coming season.
No need to yank him back.
Yeah, I was going to say. And you know what? I'm just going to leave it at that, Megan. Daniel Sprong is heading to the KHL. I'm with you in the sense of if you can get this to the point where you are talking about one of those names that you've listed, Prishepov, Ivan, Cooper Gay, Jason Polin. I think if you can have one of those guys, maybe even you're rotating a bit, filling in on that fourth line, playing alongside Jack Drury and Bardakov, I think you feel pretty good about that, knowing that Logan O'Connor is coming back and knowing that somewhere along the line, you're going to add another middle six forward who's going to plug in and really solidify that third line so that whoever it is, Parker Kelly or whomever, can slide back down to that fourth line. I think that's the balance that you're looking for here. So while when you look at it on paper, that bottom six is a bit of a mess, as we were saying before, the only thing that's stopping you is refueling up your water. I almost said your water pressure washer to get your fence clean the rest of the way. I don't think it's very far off when you factor in Bardakov and you factor in some guys that the organization really likes that can give you some fourth line minutes. And to your point, some penalty killing minutes for a guy like Ivan and Jason Polin as well.
Polin would be way more trusted if they are looking for a guy to spot check on the kill
on some special teams. So you can get yourself one of those options. To me, exactly what you said, Megan, what the Avs are missing is one final third line piece. If you add that, I think this roster is opening night ready, knowing that you have work to do by the time the trade deadline rolls around. Players are going to be cheaper, a little bit easier to acquire, not so hard up against the cap. You can take a rental on a guy if you want, if you're just plugging into a third line. If we're talking about third line wing, boy, oh boy, is that a better situation to find yourself in going shopping than, we need a second line center and the trade deadline is next week.
Well, I think what will be interesting is the role Ross Colton plays in all of this, because it is much harder to find a third line center at the deadline if that is the piece that they need. And so I think the Avs need to get serious about whether or not they want Ross Colton to be the 3C.
Where do you, it's a tough conversation because I think Ross Colton was better on the wall, but that's when he's playing with more skilled players.
It's true. And I guess we were robbed of seeing the full potential of Ross Colton on the wall with Charlie Coyle as a center. We got to see a little bit of it, but it was around a time at the end of the regular season, Ross Colton was still reeling from a little bit of a drought in his play that was difficult for him to wrap his head around. He was still looking for those offensive-minded teammates to all come together. And I think that's what makes it hard to evaluate, because Ross Colton's first year in Colorado was pretty great in terms of production. The points per game was his highest of his career yet, comparable to his second year with the Lightning, which was that cup year for the Avs. So I think that really put Colton on their radar, and for him to replicate and exceed that his first full year in Colorado, benefiting from that Colorado bump, if you will, and doing so down the middle with a 51.6% at the faceoff dot, sometimes being elevated to that second line in place of Ryan Johansson, who just wasn't working out. Ross Colton absorbed that responsibility readily. I think he handled himself very well. And so going into this next year, being moved to the wall and just seeing better, it was such an early glimpse too, right? It was those 8 goals in those first 9 games. And then he had that injury that really quashed a lot of the momentum he was building. So it makes it hard to evaluate because that's such a small sample size, because that point per game pace would be significant, more than anything we've seen in his career so far, but it's so limited. And he's getting those reps then with the top 6 and on that top power play unit, and you could see his confidence building. And so he already had a good first year in Colorado, but we saw great in Ross Colton being moved to the wall, but it was such a limited sample size. So I don't know, once he returned to health, right, gets back into the lineup, I sensed an unwillingness to put him back in the middle on that third line, right? They were still trying to figure out with Parsonen and Middlestat what they wanted to do down the middle for that bottom six, that I think they wanted to keep Colton on the wall to see if he could regenerate some of that success. And he never quite found it again. And I think part of that is it's hard to find the consistency and the rhythm when his talent around him is changing quite a bit. And he is sometimes being played with less offensively minded players. That Ross Colton's next year, I think, is one of the biggest question marks to be answered going into this next season, because he was brought over, in my opinion, to ascend to a second line center role at the end of this contract. And
this was the third line center that was supposed to be his role.
Yes. And, with this potential, this room for growth to level up to a second line role, I think that my sense is that was sort of how it was pitched to him and why he agreed to it, why he was bought into it. And so if he's pretty locked into a third line role, I think he'd be a bit frustrated by that. And I want to see Ross Colton then find some of the success he had in his first year and then at the start of this second year, going into this next season. And that's going to require supporting him a little bit. Now, it's not as if there was an absence of opportunity for him last year, just lesser. And I think that starts with getting serious then about the talent around him and how you want to use him.
So we've talked about this name before, but I'm sitting here because I'm trying to think some skill.
Sidney Crosby?
3C, what do you think? We've talked about it before, and I think you gave a pretty emphatic yes. And all of this is, does the money make sense? Evgeny Kuznetsov.
You're right. I remember you were surprised that I didn't immediately stamp it with a no.
Yeah.
I still wouldn't immediately stamp it with a no. Like there's bits of nerves around it generally, but I still wouldn't immediately stamp it with a no.
Strong penalty killer still. Even in his his game really fell off the last couple seasons that he was in the NHL. Had a decent year in the KHL, still a strong penalty killer. And I mean, that's a high skill guy that I don't know, is that someone who's motivated playing on a cup contending team? You'd have, I don't know if you'd want him and Val Nichushkin on the same team. I know Evgeny Kuznetsov has had his own off-ice sagas.
I wonder if that is the best kind of support system.
Well, and that's one of the things that's where I was going initially, was I don't know, you'd have I agree with you. I think there's a chance that actually ends up working out in a positive way. But I think that's an interesting name that's floating out there, who allegedly wants to make an NHL comeback. And we're saying, well, hey, if you get another guy that could kill penalties and a guy that's a little bit more skilled to anchor a line with Ross Colton, plus a guy who's got enough skill that if you have an injury can flex up the lineup a bit. I don't know. Because I completely agree that you want to put Ross Colton in a position that he's going to thrive. Because I think he's a younger player than people. Oh, shout out to him and his fiance, by the way. New fiance, just got engaged. But he's still a younger player, I think, than people realize. To your point, Megan, I think he was brought here to be a 3C, but then can we grow you into something more? We've seen the upside when he plays with more skilled players. I don't think this is a guy that you just want toiling away in your bottom six. Ross Colton is a legitimate, I don't want to say he's not a prospect. An asset makes it seem like you're just trying to, but that's a real player that you're trying to grow and develop and make a part of your core. Don't just isolate him there on that third line. Can you go out and target somebody in particular? It's hey, Ross, we're going out to get this player for you, to play alongside you, make that line better, more competitive, more of a threat. We heard what you were saying. I'm sure he didn't just, say I'm used to playing more offensive guys to us. I'm sure that was passed along to management, whether it be their exit meetings, meetings with Jared Bednar, things like that. I don't know. That's a name. And I actually, as I was just scrolling through trying to find, Arif Dean just did an article on this morning. Colorado Hockey Now. Sorry for stepping on your toes, Arif. I don't know. that type of player, I think if you could find something like that to go alongside Ross Colton, it's going to check a lot of those boxes you were just talking about.
Because if I'm Ross Colton, and I don't want to overanalyze this situation, but I need to see a renewed vote of confidence from the organization that there's upward trajectory for me here still. And, you start out the year playing nearly 20 minutes a night, absorbing top matchups and finding the back of the net. I would point to that and say there is untapped potential here. I need to see that the organization cares about fully realizing that potential in me. And obviously, it doesn't necessarily justify a top 6 role that Ross Colton's just thrust into next year. But you have to then see that shown in a different way by committing to some of the talent around him, for example. And that would give me renewed hope and confidence as a player. And I think that's important for all of these players in different ways. I don't key in on just Ross Colton that I sometimes think needs some positive affirmations. We've gone down this rabbit hole off the camera before, but I think Ross Colton needs a little bit of a confidence boost from the organization.
I completely agree. I think we both agree that the ideal fourth line at the end of the season, Kelly, O'Connor, Drury, not in that order necessarily. Yeah.
I love it so much.
Me too.
They really found some magic in a bottle. And the good news is they can keep this going for a little bit. Like Jack Drury has 1 more year left on that contract. And I don't blame the organization for probably wanting to see what this next year holds. Just because both Kelly and Drury, this is only their 4th season in the league.
Yeah.
And so they're pretty young and getting their bearings. And so as far as their potential too, for what they can accomplish in this league, each year for both of these players, we've seen improvement, and obviously both experience a bit of a Colorado bump, if you will. And so I still think that they're on this path of just taking more steps forward going into this next year. I don't think it'll be anything crazy. I think it'll be things like more ice time at the end of it all and absorbing more on the kill. Parker Kelly, the second most time on the kill among the forwards. And so that's significant given the time that Val Nichushkin missed. He's obviously a trusted piece there. Arturi Lehkonen at the start of the season. Parker Kelly became such a trusted guy on the PK.
Yeah. Total Jared Bednar guy too.
Absolutely. Leads the team in hits in the playoffs and among the highest for blocked shots, especially among the forwards. I want to say the highest among the forwards. For blocked shots.
About that game where he had the shift 4 block shots only for them to end up giving up a goal. But yeah, very trusted guy.
Very trusted. And given that this was only just his 4th season and he took these step forwards in these different categories, I think this line can be even more than what we saw it to be in this last year. Especially, I have a lot of optimism around Logan O'Connor returning from this hip procedure, just because of the strong season in terms of availability that he put together coming off the heels of the last hip procedure, playing 80 games. And his ice time, everything except the production, which wasn't so far off from what it normally was good.
Well, and I don't know if we ever clarified this on the pod. We did get confirmation that it is the other hip, not a recurring injury, which I think is better.
I think it's significantly better. And his time on ice absolutely tracks with what we've seen it to be. And so even if he's playing through a little bit of something filling off with the other hip, putting together an 80-game season on the heels of the last hip procedure, I think availability is not my worry with Logan O'Connor. Let him fully recuperate and come when he feels ready. I think we'll see
around Christmas
him get back up to game speed without too much issue. And so the thing that I think he was on this track he was building towards was better production year by year. And his goals increased the year before last, though the overall points total was a little bit lower. I think we're still in this room where we can expect Logan O'Connor's production to gradually increase a little bit. Jack Drury saw more of a bump in his production in terms of pace, point per game in Colorado, that I think all these players put together, I just want to see a little bit more of that, because I think there's a little bit more to give. And again, I don't think it's the production that's going to jump off the page. It's their consistency, their reliability, and the way they play in big game moments. You know, Jack Drury's assist on the Charlie Coyle goal in the playoffs was a pretty incredible read. It was very opportunistic. Obviously, Logan O'Connor factoring on 2 of the short-handed goals, including getting one of his own, and having nearly a point per game in the playoffs. Logan O'Connor on a bum hit, basically. I think that these are clutch players that have that special factor in the playoffs in particular that we didn't get to see more of because we only got 7 games.
Their game just lends to it so well. We are up against a little bit of a clock today, folks. We got, I don't want to spoil it. We got someone coming in who's doing an interview for something else. So we've got just a couple minutes here. I want to make sure we got to this super chat because it made me genuinely laugh out loud. From Vaguely Sober, $1.99. And it wasn't this comment that made me laugh out loud. It was his follow-up. He said, "Could I interest you in a gently used Kiviranta?" And he sent that as I was going on my Kiviranta rant. And so the follow-up was, I was typing this as Jesse was saying all this about Kivi, but I sent it anyways. Big shout out to Vaguely for the $1.99. Megan, can you...
I wasn't reading chat until now, and you guys have been very funny today.
Can you round out our show today? Your thoughts on Kiviranta? Am I in the wrong?
I also didn't hear you talking about Kiviranta.
No, so when I said a bunch of people have asked me, and I just don't think he's a third line player.
Because did you say that on today's show, and I just didn't hear you?
Yeah, that what I just said right there was all I said, though, so it was very easy.
I have such selective hearing. I didn't even hear you talking badly about Kiviranta. It went completely over my head.
And again, it's not bad. It's
I
just,
do not hear it.
He's not your third line solution.
So I do agree with that, though, as much as I've loved throwing my full backing and support behind Kiviranta, who I think has had some interesting stretches in this last year where he was kind of consistently putting up points in periods where the team needed some depth scoring. So I was really ringing the bell for Kiviranta, but I don't think it's enough for a third line role. And given how full the fourth line is, right? Like how complete it is. I don't know where I see the fit unless he wants to be a 13th forward. I don't love that for him.
I don't either. And then what are you doing with Bardakov if he does come over? Yeah, for all the Kivy love out there, I just don't think there's much room for him.
Yeah, I think the fit doesn't make as much sense.
And it's clear they're asking a lot. Otherwise, he would have a home by now. But he scored 16 goals last year, and I think they're trying to get paid for that.
I think so, too. And I think that's why he hasn't signed anywhere
right.
yet.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So I don't believe it's a lack of interest altogether. I think he finds an NHL home next season.
I completely agree. Yep. All right. Well, we are going to have to cut ourselves a little bit short today, but we'll be back on Friday with another episode. We're going to get into the schedule. And then should I just put it out there now what we're going to be talking about?
Sure.
We are going to be getting in to the Hockey Canada verdict. I'm going to say the fallout from that, meaning like what all has come from that. What's the status of the players? Megan, I think, I don't remember if I complimented you on air. I thought your post was very thoughtful. I thought it was very fair to every side that this is a really complicated process that everything just went through. And that's part of what we're going to unpack. But if you haven't read what Megan tweeted out the day of the verdict last week, I'd recommend doing that. I thought it was perfect because this isn't, at least how the case goes, how the court proceedings went. This wasn't black and white. There was a lot of nuance to how all this went. So we are going to unpack that a little bit. And then we are going to get into the schedule for the Avs that was released last week. Days to look for, weeks, months, scheduling oddities, and positives for the Avs this coming season. That's going to do it for today. I'm Jesse Montano. She has been Meghan Angley. We've had John with us behind the glass. Thank you guys all so much for tuning in. We will see you on Friday. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.